This is update for June 11, 2023, day 403 of the war, and of the date update. This is going to be a short update, focused just on developments on the battlefield and obviously related to Ukrainian offensive. But first I want to mention a couple important developments in Russia. If you remember, I was talking about this commander of 72nd Brigade that operates near Bakhmut. So he was captured by Wagner mercenaries about 4 days, maybe 5 days ago. They used physical force to him. Then he confessed in all the crimes in the world. And then later he surfaced back. So he apparently was released by Wagner mercenaries, and he was back in the sort of regular Russian military, and he basically read pieces of paper stating that he was captured against his will and forced to say those things and so on. So that was sort of one event, and then the next sort of iteration of this conflict between Wagner mercenaries or Wagner Group and Russian Ministry of Defense is then the Russian Ministry of Defense issued decree that effectively stating that all of the Russian volunteers, which there are a good amount in the Russian army and just standalone units such as Wagner mercenaries, they all will be forced to sign a contract with Russian Ministry of Defense, and effectively that puts them under control of Russian Ministry of Defense. The head of Wagner mercenaries, Prigozhin, immediately responded, stating that Wagner Group is not going to be signing any contract with Minister of Defense, claimed that they are incompetent, which is always true. And so this conflict goes to higher and higher level basically at this point. This all goes back to what I was saying, that 1917 moment, Russia is firmly on the path to its own 1917 moment. Ukraine is actually behind. As I said before, I thought this is going to happen in Ukraine first, because it's smaller, but because it has all of these external resources. So this allows Ukraine to sort of delay that 1917 moment till later, let's put it this way. Now let's switch to the battlefield, and I'm going to quickly walk through the sort of all sectors of the front line, but then we're going to focus obviously on Zaporizhzhia front line, where the main developments are. So I'm going to start in a clockwise fashion, as I always do. So first, along the state border, situation more or less the same. The Ukrainian incursions into Russian territory here are a little bit on the sort of lower end, a little bit quieter there. Situation on the North Lugansk front line is the same, no essential activity there. Then if we move to North Donbass front line, things are also the same. Some Ukrainian pressure straight north and south of Bakhmut, but it's effectively going to nowhere. Then central Donbass front line, things are more or less the same. Typical attacks near Marinka, but really no status quo remains there. Now let's actually jump to Zaporizhzhia front line, where things are happening. So first of all, I'm going to start with the western side of it, and here Ukrainian troops continuing attacks in this area a little bit east of Orikhiv without success. So far, a Russian front line holds here, and just for those who don't know, it's not actually even the main front line. It's kind of like initial defensive line that's not meant even to be like held forever. It's just sort of meant to be kind of like a tool to buy time and to expose main attacking troops of the opposing party. So this is not, Ukrainian troops did not even breach that here yet. Now I'm going to switch to the eastern side of it, and And just for that matter, the central one is quiet, this Hulaypula area. The things are really developing well for, well, I would say there are some signs, or there is a ray of hope, let's put it this way, for Ukraine here. And so what's happening is the squeeze is happening actually, and Russian troops, Russian command decided to evacuate this Velyka Novosilka salient at this point. So evacuation is happening as we speak. They blew up dam here, like in this, I think the village called Kluchivka or something, to flood. And there is basically a river that flows from Velyka Novosilka, goes through all of these villages to this dam. And so they blew it up, so just to kind of, increase the amount, the level of the river, so that it's harder for Ukrainian troops to advance. Basically, to slow advance of Ukrainian troops while Russian troops are retreating. So, just want to explain this. This is orderly, organized retreat. This is not chaotic, no defeat, no anything. This is orderly retreat, normal. This retreat is more of a result of lack of manpower on the battlefield, and that's what's really happening, and overwhelming or the number of manpower from Ukrainian side, because Ukrainian side is concentrated on a small sectors of the front line, significant advantage over Russian or of Russian troops, and so that allows to kind of like squeeze Russian troops out. So given that Russian command is not able to have more manpower, as I said before, it's stretched. So they have to sort of straighten up the front line. As you can see, this is salient. Now it's going to be more straighter front line. Actually, let's look into more detail how things were developing. So this is the initial phase, June 4th through 8th. As you can see, Ukrainian troops were attacking. This is initial sort of salient, how it looked. This kind of like sort of thin black line. So initial phase, Russian troops kind of retreated, essentially just leaving, because there were no strongholds, just essentially fields. So they were slowly retreating to the strongholds, to villages, to have some cover. Essentially, this is a Ukrainian attack at Novodonetsk. That was, Ukrainian troops managed to actually initially capture it or liberate, use proper word, and then Russian troops counterattacked and managed to kick out Ukrainian troops and recaptured this Novodonetsk. So this was initial sort of phase. This is just to explain. This is the first line of defense. As I said, this is just basically forefield, just to kind of like slow down enemy, to have white time. To essentially, the purpose of this is expose attacking troops to understand what's attacking you. So that's the idea. So this is essentially what Ukrainian troops were attacking for right now. Then there is a second, the second line of defense. It's also not the main one. The really main one, Russian line of defense, is this third one here, number 3. As you can see, it's still quite far from where everything is. This was on the, let's say, the sort of, the end date was the 8th, roughly. This is what was happening on the 9th and 10th. So Ukrainian troops continued their attacks here, but they were not successful. The success actually happened with liberating this village Blagodatne. This kind of forced Russian hands, and they started withdrawing from the Skuchne all the way to Makariivka. So they basically also straightened line this small salient here, and also Russian forces started retreating here
in this sort of salient or valley between Novodonetsk and Zaporizhzhia. So this is what's been happening. Now let's have a look where it sort of stands right now. So beginning of the day, this is where it was standing. Ukrainian troops again attacked. Russian troops started retreating from Makarivka, Urozhaine, and essentially, as we speak, they probably retreating towards Priyutny here, and this maybe they will put up some fight at Staromayorsky, but essentially Zavitne Bazhanya, and they essentially retreating to the second defensive line. And this is where this dam that was blown up is in this village Klucheve. It's kind of like flood, creating sort of flood zone. It's obviously temporary, but it allows to have a cover for a day or so to allow orderly retreat of the Russian troops to the second line of defense. So this is just going to be temporary strongholds just to slow down advance of Ukrainian troops and to inflict more losses on Ukrainian troops. But the main sort of maneuver, main idea, strategic move by Russian command is to withdraw to this second line of defense, hold it till they can, and then obviously withdraw to the third one. So this is essentially where it's all is. That's what's happening at the moment. Thanks for watching, and till next video. Bye bye.